China's economy is struggling. Its population is shrinking, youth unemployment is at a record high, and the property downturn is now concerning the Reserve Bank. Experts say the fate of one developer in particular may lead to repercussions for our economy.
Evergrande has been one of the most aggressive property developers in China in terms of taking on debt to grow its business. It's basically suffering from a cash crunch.
They built all these apartments and no one's buying them. And it's not just Evergrande, it's many, many other property developers there in China.
Evergrande owes creditors $300 billion and it's already defaulted on at least $30 billion to foreign investors. It's unable to issue new debt because it's being investigated by China's securities regulator, and its founder and chairman, Hui Yan, is under police surveillance for alleged illegal activities.
He has been a success story, but the government is now looking into his dealings.
On top of that, police have detained staff from Evergrande's wealth management division and other company executives. That's complicating efforts for Evergrande to restructure its debts by October the 30th, when liquidation proceedings start in Hong Kong.
Given that the property bubble in China has burst and isn't coming back, it doesn't seem likely that it will ever return to the kind of profitability that it needs to repay its debts.
Its debt problems worsened in 2020 when the Chinese government introduced new rules which made it harder for heavily indebted property developers to continue borrowing. That prevented Evergrande from raising new capital. After all, it had expanded into other businesses like electric vehicles, theme parks, and it even bought a soccer club. Its shares are now almost worthless.
I think there is very little appetite from the government to actually want to bail out these developers in full.
Especially with thousands of homeowners and investors still waiting for their apartments to be complete. China's property sector accounts for about 30% of its economic growth, yet prices have been falling for much of the past 2 years.
There is, of course, a desire to support the system so it doesn't lead to systematic problems.
Stress in China's financial system could lead to slower global economic growth, according to the Reserve Bank. The Australian dollar is especially vulnerable, given China is our biggest trading partner. And it could result in lower commodity prices, for example, if China cuts back on buying our iron ore or other Australian goods and services. It may also have unintended consequences for housing affordability in Australia.
You are going to get more and more Chinese looking around and thinking, well, where can we still make 10% a year for doing nothing? And the answer is in Australian property.
And that could fuel further inflation and complicate the picture for interest rates.